Hi everybody, Peter Worksop. Today I'm doing something a bit different. I've come out to Klippstein. I'm going to take some drone footage and photographs of the headstocks at Klippstein, which is the old coal mining winding gear. Round here there used to be hundreds and hundreds of, or thousands and thousands of people worked in the coal mines, and now there aren't any. All the coal mines have shut. Around where I used to live, or where I live, there used to be dozens of coal mines, and then after the miners' strike in '85, they all got closed down. So there were one or two monuments about, but this is the only set of headstocks or winding gear that I know about. So I've decided to come and take a bit of a video of it and have a look, and I'm probably going to upload it to stock footage. See if I can make a shilling or two out of it. So I'm going to set the drone up and we'll crack on, and I'll show you some of this drone footage when it's done. Okay, see you in a minute. Unfortunately, well, I've had the drone up, but unfortunately I'm getting warnings saying the wind's a little bit too high, so I'm really struggling to take any more footage with the drone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a wander off somewhere else and see if there's any other monuments anywhere that I could have a look at. Might even be one perhaps at Shireoaks or Bevercoats where I used to work. So we'll trot on and we'll have a look. See you in a bit. I've now moved on from Klippstein to the former Shireoaks Colliery site. Just make sure I don't get run over here. It's hard to imagine that this area here was once quite a large industrial site. Behind me we've got the Shireoaks Marina, which is very nice, and as you'll see in a minute, just the other side of the camera is all wooded woodlands, nice walks, etc. I'm walking down now to the monument that shows where the shafts were. So I'm going to take some photos of those, and then I'll take some pictures of the surrounding area. And like I say, it's hard to imagine what it was like when I worked here. But yeah, massive changes. Behind me I've got the concrete marker that marks the cap for the number 2 shaft. Now, number 2 shaft was where all the air come up from the coal mine, and where all the coal came up, and it then went on to the preparation plant where it was all cleaned and separated from the dirt. I've taken some pictures of the markers so you can see how deep the coal mine was when it was capped off. So let's go and see if we can find the number 1 shaft. So behind me is the cap for the number 1 shaft. This is where all the men went underground and then came back up again. This is where the majority of the materials were sent underground. You know, all the equipment that the men worked with, the props, the timber, the steel, and everything else like that generally went down this shaft. As you can see, if you look behind me, it's all wooden area now, wooded area I should say. It's quite hard to imagine that this was not quite a large, a very large industrial site. You know, men coming and going all the time, and there was a big winding gear like the other photos I've just shown you from Klippstein. It's hard to imagine this. So, you know, in one way the heritage is disappearing, but on the other end it's making it something that everybody can use now. You know, something nice, something that people can have a walk around and relax, come and walk the dogs or whatever they want to do. It's very nice now. What I'm going to do in a moment is I'm going to have a walk up onto the old pit tip. Now the pit tip is where all the spoil, the dirt and everything that wasn't coal got dumped. Now it's all nice and green like this. At one time it used to be black, shale and ugly. And these things used to pop out the country all over, well round here anyway. I remember a friend of mine coming up from down south and going, "What's that big black thing there? And look, there's another one over there." And I'm saying, "It's a pit tip." What's a pit tip? They'd never seen anything like it. apart from there being a big hill there, you couldn't tell that it was a pit tip. You can see it's man-made, obviously, but it doesn't look anything like it used to. It's all green and trees and everything now. So let's go and have a look up there and see what that's like. This behind me here used to be the canteen where we used to go and get our dippy egg and our bacon sandwich in the morning before we went down the coal mine, or where we'd get a bit of dinner before we went to work. Over this side, this used to be the showers, the changing rooms, the clean side, the dirty side. What I mean by that is when you arrived at work and your cleans closed, you'd get changed, put your stuff in a locker, walk through the shower area onto the dirty side and put your work clothes on. Then when you come back up the pit, you'd take all your dirty work clothes off, put them in a dirty locker, and then walk through, have a shower, and then onto the clean side where you'd get dressed in your clean clothes again. There was a lamp room where you'd pick your lamp up and everything else that you needed, and your tallies as well. Now your tallies you used to collect, you used to have two. One you used to give to the banksman on the side of the shaft when you went down the pit, and then another one you'd give to the banksman when you came back up after the end of your shift. And this way they could keep a tally, believe it or not, of who was down the mine and how long you was down there, how many men were down underground, etc, etc. So let's just have a wander on now. A lot of coal mines used to have sports and social clubs where they used to sell beer that was a bit cheaper than the local pubs, and they used to have things like darts and dominoes and entertainment nights. There was a bowling green, etc, etc. The club's still there. It's not called the Miners' Welfare anymore, but a lot of people still refer to it as the Miners' Welfare, and it's about 200 yards down the road, so it was quite handy. We're now venturing on what used to be the pit tip, where all the unwanted soil and dirt is, and a lot of the dirt from the shafts, when the shafts were sunk, and they also started building a drift mine here as well, ended up. Obviously it was no good, you couldn't use it, there was no coal or anything like that in it, so it had to go somewhere, and this was it. As I said, it used to be black and horrible, and now it looks quite nice if you look at it. So we're roughly halfway up the pit tip. It starts getting a bit steep here, so I'm likely to be puffing and panting a bit by the time we get to the top. I've taken some photos where you can see where the water's washed away the topsoil, and you can see the slag and the shale and everything that lies just beneath the surface of topsoil here, and it'll give you an idea of what this used to look like. As you can see, we're not at the top yet, and there's quite a view from here. You can imagine this was seen for miles and miles around. As you can see from the top of the coal tip, or from the top of the pit tip, you've got a magnificent view from up here. You can just imagine how far this, as it was, dirty slag heap could be seen from. It could be seen from miles and miles and miles. And from here, before you covered them up, like this one's been covered, you could see all the other dirty slag heaps. Just over there in front of me is where Klippstein Colliery used to be, and Klippstein Colliery amalgamated with Shireoaks back in the 60s. It only had one shaft. In the scheme of things, Shireoaks was a small pit. A lot of people classed it as a family pit because everybody knew everybody. Everybody lived in the local area. You know, they lived in Shireoaks, Rhodesia, Worksop. Not many people travelled from out of town to work here. So when it closed, you know, there was about 500 people lost their jobs, which was massive in a town like Worksop. And there was no other industry that would take its place. And it wasn't just this mine that closed. About 3 miles from here was Manton Colliery. Now Manton Colliery was a lot larger than that, or than this one. I don't know how many people lost their jobs there, but it was certainly a lot bigger than this. There was also Furbeck, which closed in the 60s. There was Dinnington Pit, which was just up the road. There was behind me there was Whitwell and Cresswell Colliery, all within, as the crow flies, about 4 or 5 miles. Whitwell and Cresswell were what people consider to be small family pits. A bit further down the road where I used to work, as well as at Shireoaks, there was a Bevercoats, which was a massive colliery. Thousands of people worked there. So as you can tell, when the pits closed, it caused devastation around here. During the miners' strike, it was terrible. There was lots of fighting. There was police everywhere. You couldn't walk down the road with your dog without getting stopped by the police and somebody saying, "Where are you going? Where are you from? Are you a miner? Are you going picketing?" You know. I'd left the pit at the time, and I was working as a driving instructor, and it was that bad. I was even on driving lessons in a car that was all signed up, sign on the roof, signs on the doors, on driving lessons, and still getting pulled over by the police to be asked, "Where are you going? Are you picketing?" "No, I'm on a driving lesson. Bugger off and leave me alone," you know. So yeah, hard times. Working in the coal mines was a dirty, dangerous job. Both my granddads worked down the pits. I had 2 uncles that worked at Shireoaks. My maternal grandfather, my mum's dad, he spent the last few years of his life connected to an oxygen bottle because he got pneumoconiosis through breathing too much coal dust. It affected my granddad the rest of his life on my dad's side. I didn't work down the pit too long. I was only down the pit for a few years. The thing I did find was that in some ways it was good. It was like being back in the army. You know, everybody looked after everybody. Everybody helped one another. Everybody knew one another, and it was a bit like you were all related to one another because you were working in these adverse conditions all the time. You know, in some ways it was a good way of life, and a lot of people, when they left the pit, they lost that. They lost all the friends. You know, people went different ways, and it was very difficult for some people. I was a driving instructor by this time, so it wasn't quite so bad for me. I was still in the territorial army, so I'd still got my army friends, but a lot of people really suffered when the pits closed. They not only lost their job, you know, a lot of the friends disappeared. They'd got no money, and it was difficult for them. It's hard to imagine that in this area here, working in heavy industry, so many people lost either life or limbs working at Shireoaks and some of the more local collieries. Just down the road in 1950, a belt overheated at Cresswell Colliery there, and 80 men died. Just like trapped by the flames, couldn't get them out, and they all died of either smoke inhalation or the fumes. When I worked at Bevercoats, One young lad working on the underground haulage got trapped. We had to fetch the doctor down the pit to amputate his leg down the pit because we couldn't get him out. You know, some horrific injuries. But like I say, we're all trying to look after each other. We're all trying to cover each other's back because, you know, one day it might be you needing some help. It might be you that's trapped. It might be you that's injured. It might be you that needs putting on the stretcher and carrying out. I got carried out a couple of times. Had a bad accident with my thumb, nearly lost my thumb. Another incident, I stood on a piece of steel, it went all the way through my foot. It was a spike. I was walking in like 9 inches of mud and water, couldn't see it, stood on the spike and it went straight through the sole of my boot and straight through my foot. That put me off work for quite a while. You know, so there's been one or two horrific things that happened around here. But all that did was make us closer and tighter as a unit. And we all used to look after each other. So I'm almost back at my car now. That just about ends this walk around. If you found it interesting, please give it a thumbs up. I know it's a bit different to what I normally do. Share it. I know it's probably only interesting to people that live in this area or, you know, live in what used to be a mining community. But yeah, please share it. If I get enough likes or whatever, I might go into a little bit more depth about some of the coal mines around here and have a walk around and see if we can get some more information and have a look at some more of the memorials and things. I'm out of breath. That hill nearly killed me. Getting on a bit now. So yeah, please like, please share, subscribe, ring the ding dong bell, and hopefully I shall see you on the next video. See you soon, bye.